Okay, I'm recording too. Great. Okay, for the recording, welcome back. We are ACI Course 5, How Karma Works, Class 2 on June 9th, 2024. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize that we don't really know how to help them. The worldly ways we try help, but fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We're learning that that is possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing. And then grow that longing into an intention. And then turn your mind back to that precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the benefit of every other. So again, let's listen to the source of all my good, Lam Rim, to help us stay oriented for this course on karma. Where'd Flavia go? So if you know it, you're welcome to recite along with me. Otherwise, just listen and let yourself play the movie, right? Think about what these different stages on our path will look like. Okay, are you ready, Flavia? So the source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to them in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow them with all my strength and reverence. Bless me to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish and never stop to wish that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teaching. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize precisely the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the holy ones have spoken, putting all my effort in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times, highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions on this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. So in that prayer, 3 of them, 4 of them are directly about karma. And then several more are about morality, which is carefully choosing what karma we make. So, I could go out on a limb and say more than half of the Lam Rim needs our understanding of karma, how karma works. So last class, we were introduced to the main text that we are studying from and the commentary that we're using so that we can understand the main text. And so thank you to those who did their homeworks and showed them to me. Someone can tell me the name of the root text in Sanskrit, Tibetan, and English. Who wants to show off? Going once, going twice. Somebody volunteer. I'm going to use my finger. Once, twice, 3 times. Shayla. What's the name of the textbook we're studying from?
Is the Abhidharmakosha.
Yes.
In Spanish is La Casa del Tesoro de la Sabiduría Superior. Please
All
help
right. Extra credit.
me, Flavia.
In Tibetan.
And it is of Vasubandhu, Master Vasubandhu.
Okay.
In the year of 350.
Okay, good.
And in Tibetan, I don't have the information in Tibetan.
Somebody help Shayla. What's the Tibetan?
No.
Shu Numpa Zu.
Shu Numpa Su.
You got it.
Shu
Beautiful.
Numpa Su.
Now, what about the commentary? Let Sheila off the
commentary is from the first Dalai Lama, and the name is Yalwa Geldum Drup.
Correct.
1391 to 147.4.
Okay.
And he was a student of Tsongkhapa.
Right.
And the name is in Spanish, La Iluminación del Camino hacia la Liberación, Camino a la Libertad.
All right. And in Tibetan?
And in Tibetan, Tarlam Selye.
Beautiful. Illumination on the path to freedom. I heard that in the Spanish. Nice. Thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
So now, we also learned what the literal meaning of the title was. Claire, what was the literal meaning of Abhidharma Kosha? Abhi means?
Abhi means up to, when we're approaching something on the higher level.
Nice.
Dharma means to hold it, from the root, Sanskrit root Thur. So it's holding it, or from Tibetan too, it's like existing object, anything which holds its own nature.
Correct.
And it means that the highest of all existing objects is nirvana, and the knowledge brings us and leads us to this state.
Perfect. Nice. And then in the title is also the term kosha, which means treasury. And we learned that it's called the treasury because it's where the information from the 7 original writings are locked in there, saved in there, safe in that textbook. Nice. So the literal meaning is the knowledge that takes us up to nirvana. Treasure house of higher knowledge. Then we also heard, what does Abhidharma, the idea Abhidharma, actually refer to? And it was those two. Olga, you have that?
Yeah, I think I don't remember if it was to analyze the stained and unstained things in our life.
Okay. So the main Abhidharma is the unstained wisdom, meaning the wisdom that we gain on our three higher paths: the path of seeing, path of habituation, path of no more learning. And that the other is the accessories to wisdom, it's called, which is the knowledge that we're gaining as we go through our path of accumulation, our path of preparation, which what we're doing on those two paths is learning, studying, contemplating, meditating. So the accessories to knowledge actually come first. They grow our goodness to reach the actual wisdom that we then still use the accessories to knowledge. They still tag along with our wisdom as we use our wisdom to choose our behaviors more wisely in our path of habituation, to be able to burn away all our past seeds of the big mistake that led us to selfishness, that are blocking us from our nirvana, right? In this school, nirvana is the goal. As Mahayanas, Buddhahood is our goal. Nirvana will come along on the path. So it's not to be disrespected. We will reach nirvana. We'll just, great. Hi, nirvana. I've got more to do. Right? We won't get stalled out there. Then lastly, on your quiz for last class, is there are 4 attributes to a Buddhist book, meaning a book that will serve us to help us reach our goal. It needs to have these 4 attributes. And the question was, what are these 4? And how do they apply in the Abhidharma Kosha's example? So for time, I'm just going to give them to you. The book needs to have a meaningful subject matter. And in the case of Abhidharma Kosha, that meaningful subject matter is the wisdom which understands stained and unstained things. Then the second attribute is that the book needs to have a meaningful purpose. And in Abhidharma Kosha's case, its purpose is to plant the seeds of that wisdom of stained and unstained things in the mind of the reader student of Abhidharma Kosha. And then third quality is there needs to be an ultimate goal. And Abhidharma Kosha's ultimate goal is to get us to nirvana. Thank you very much. And then the fourth quality needs to be that there's a relationship between the subject matter, the purpose, and the ultimate goal, which in this case, the Abhidharma Kosha teaches us that in order to reach nirvana, we need the wisdom which distinguishes between what will help us and what will harm us, not just on our spiritual path, but just plain in life. And to reach this wisdom, we read and study and practice according to what this book has to say. Okay, so now we are ready to jump right into chapter 4 of Abhidharma Kosha. And that's the chapter we are focusing on for this whole course. Just chapter 4. Chapter 4 we learned was the chapter on karma. And the opening lines of chapter 4 are Lele Jikten Natsoke. It's like the one thing that I heard it twice and it was memorized. You know, nothing gets memorized in this brick of a brain without dogged determination. But that, I heard that, I said it back twice, and all of a sudden, lele, jikten, not so okay. I think because it's just fun to say. So I'm going to put it up on the share screen so you can read it. And I hope you get the same result I did. Lele, jikten, not so okay. Make you bigger. It's bigger. All right. Here it is. The opening line of the Abhidharma Kosha in Tibetan. Lele, jikten, not so okay. Did you hear yourself say it? Hear yourself say it again. Lele, jikten, not so okay. See, it just rolls. Le means karma. The first le. The second le means from. So it's one of those two words that are spelled the same and sound the same, but have completely different meanings. What are those called in English? Homonyms? There and there. Where and where. Right? Different words, sound the same. You know, not spelled the same though, but you get the idea. So karma from is what this is saying. It doesn't make sense so far. Jik-ten. Jik means fear. It means suffering. Den means the basis. So this term jik-ten is the term that Tibetans use for this suffering world. It is the word they use for Earth, the planet Earth. But when I hear planet Earth, I have a very limited idea of what's meant by that, you know, that blue thing that's floating around. But when we talk about Jikten, our world, there's much more to it than just our oceans, mountains, beings. There are parts of it that are beyond our human perception that are all still part of what we call Jikten. The suffering world. Not sok means many different kinds, various, multitude of, right? All those different connotations of not sok. So Jikten not sok is saying the multitude of suffering worlds. This term. Literally, Jik means to be destroyed. And then is the basis. The basis to be destroyed is the literal meaning of the word that the Tibetans chose for the name of our suffering world, samsaric world, the basis to be destroyed. But by that, they're referring to our physical body and our physical world. Both the gross physical world, which is all the stuff that we can see, hear, smell, taste, touch, and the subtle physical world that we can't access through our sense powers, but are still here all around us. So Jikten, on another level, means me and my outer experiences. They are called the basis to be destroyed because, number one, they will eventually be destroyed, right? When my karma for this life wears out, my Jikten disappears. It doesn't mean yours does, but the me as a part of yours does. It disappeared. But it also means that sooner or later, the basis of this suffering world will disappear, meaning the ignorance that creates and perpetuates a suffering world is going to finally be overcome in the mind of every being who experiences a suffering world. In which case, there will be no more suffering world or worlds or beings in them, because there's no more mistaken seeds in the minds of us, any of us. So lots and lots of meanings of Jikten. Not Sok Jikten means the various suffering worlds. Yours, mine, theirs, all of it. Kye means they come from. So this whole statement is saying the various worlds come from le, come from karma. Another meaning of le is deeds. Another meaning of karma, like the English translation of the Sanskrit word karma, is deeds, actions. So deeds cause the multitude of worlds. Why does that start chapter 4? Master Vasubandhu in chapters 1, 2, and 3 has clarified all existing things, from universes right down to subatomic particles. And he says, and you want to know where all this stuff comes from? Yeah. Chapter 4. Lele Jikten, not so kid. Deeds cause all of those existing things, from universes to subatomic particles, all caused by deeds. The implication then is deeds will be the cause of your pure world as well. Thank goodness. Probably different deeds then create a various suffering world, but deeds nonetheless. Lele Jikten Natsoke. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. All the planets, all the beings on all the planets, everything every being experiences moment by moment on all of those planets, all come from karma. So now, in course 4, we were focusing on showing us that our minds go on when our body dies. And in this course 4, we're focusing on how our actions and the effect that our actions have on our own mind go on as the cause of our future experiences. So not just our experience, but our whole world within which we are experiencing moment by moment. Every detail of every moment of our me and my world comes from our own past deeds. And every moment of interaction with those moments is creating our future moments. So now in Master Vasubandhu's time, there were non-Buddhists, who held one of three beliefs about where the world came from. And the commentary is pointing out how this chapter is specifically addressing these, non-Buddhist neighbors of the Buddhists who are Abhidharmists. So the Abhidharmists understand about karma. And this text, it teaches the details more, but it's also addressing an audience that understands karma, but in a very different way. Karma as duty, or karma as predestined. Whereas our understanding of karma is, it's not set, right? Yes, everything is run by karma, but it doesn't mean we have no ability to make choices, right? To change things. So in Master Vasubandhu's time, there were groups of people who had one of three different beliefs in where things come from. Who made the world? We heard this a little bit in last course. One is Gyu Takpa. Gyu Takpa means an unchanging cause. Zowo means a main principle, like a primal energy. And Wangchuk means a creator being, Ishvara or Indra at that time. Master Vasubandhu addresses these in his, he's addressing these by way of saying, no, deeds cause the world. But, and so in the commentary, it's pointing out Master Vasubandhu's argument, or pointing out the inconsistency with these beliefs in an unchanging cause, a primal energy that's also said to be unchanging, and a creator being, whether they're changing or not. He gives suggestions for why these, as the explanation of where our world comes from, is inconsistent with how we actually experience our world. They don't really answer why bad stuff happens to good people. They don't answer why you can do something nice to somebody and they can do something nasty back. They don't answer why you can do the same thing 6 times in a row and get 6 different results from the same apparent action. So let's take a look at these. In an unchanging cause, this is an impersonal thing. It's not a being. It's like there had to be a first cause, but the first cause didn't have a first cause. And it's like, right, like the Big Bang. Don't ask what caused the Big Bang, please, because nothing did. So can an unchanging thing cause anything? No. Is the Big Bang an unchanging thing? No, right? That's changing. Can a changing thing come out of nothing? No. Can an unchanging thing make something? No. But here is this belief in an unchanging cause that set everything into motion, in which we always have a cause-result experience. So it doesn't make sense that some uncaused thing sets into motion a system where everything needs a cause. It's just inconsistent. It doesn't explain our experience. Could it be true? Sure, right? But it doesn't help us to figure out how to stop perpetuating a suffering world if we rely on some uncaused Big Bang as the source of everything that we experience. It's like, thank you very much, but that doesn't help. So you're welcome to it. You know, I quit believing. And yet, right, there was a time when I rejected these other two and went to science that had all the answers, right? Because it could prove stuff. And it's like the Big Bang was the answer. And it's like, yeah, right. And it's like, oops. So it just is insufficient, let's say. Solo means a primal energy. But this primal energy that's been there forever, unchanging, this unchanging force. I don't know enough about what people call the quantum field and what qualities they believe quantum field has, but it kind of makes me think that idea of the quantum field. Is there a quantum field? Yes. Is it the cause of our world? Well, first of all, if it's an unchanging thing, again, not possible to create a changing world from an unchanging thing. It just can't do it. If it could do it, if it did do it, then something had to propel it to do it, which means it wasn't the actual cause. The thing that propelled it to make our world was the real cause. So I'm not saying there's no quantum field or no solo. I'm just saying the way it's explained that this unchanging energy force creates our changing world, it's inconsistent with our experience. Then the third one, Wangchuk. Wangchuk means a creator being who made it all happen and keeps perpetuating it, right? Like a one in charge. Maybe they have many different forms. Maybe they're changing, maybe they're not, depending on who you talk to. But does the idea of a single creator being who's like all powerful, all loving, all compassionate, all knowing, and all powerful actually explain our experience of obvious suffering, the suffering of change, and pervasive suffering? Their argument is, if this creator being makes the world, they could have made everything in a single instant. Nothing would have to depend on coming from something previous. There would be no need for linear time. There'd be no need for cause and effect. Everything would just exist in all times, from all time. Things wouldn't have to happen in stages. And the way that's worded, it's like, yeah, they could do that. But maybe they didn't do that. But if you cook that, it's like, if this being is all powerful and all knowing and all loving, and they could make us instantly enlightened beings, why would they not? Right? So I'm not saying there is no such being. I'm saying that the way I'm thinking of that being and my personal experience, they're inconsistent. And so that means what I know about that being can't actually help me stop my suffering. Maybe they can help somebody else. I hope so. But it doesn't explain my experience. Do you remember when we were first studying, where was it? Somewhere in the last 4 courses. In deciding whether or not the Buddha's teachings are authentic, I lost my train of thought. In the 4 Arya truths, the first one is everything is suffering. And our reasoning was that's something that a being who can't hear themselves say anything incorrect heard himself say, and I heard it, and I, from my ignorant state of mind, can confirm it. Yes. Pain is pain. Good thing that wears out, leaves me disappointed and wanting more. And no matter how good everything's going, I am getting older, right? My best friends are moving away or dying or both, right? It's all ending. So, whoa, I can confirm something that a fully enlightened being has spoken. From that, we're supposed to be able to connect the dot and say, oh, then I can believe things that they said that I cannot yet directly confirm. And then in the course of my work with the Dharma, little bits of other stuff that have been taught by Buddha get confirmed by my own experience, right? And then our confidence grows and grows and grows. So confirmation that there is a teaching that is consistent with our experience, which is, I can do something nice to somebody and they'll be nasty back. Why? Oh, because I've done that. And I know I have. And the other way around as well. I can do something nasty to somebody and they just grab me and hug me. You know, they just love me more. And that's happened too, in a way. And it's like kind of reassuring when we can understand how those both can be valid, accurate experiences that are not inconsistent with what the teacher of the process, not the maker of the process, but the teacher of the process has told us, right, how we can use it. All right, so these 3 different beliefs in where our world come from that were prominent in 350 AD timeframe in India are still prominent now. And they are deeply ingrained in us. Even if we were never really deeply devoted to any of them, we were raised in a culture where one or the other of these is the prominent belief system. We have it in us. And it at some point it'll come up and it'll be time to address it. Meanwhile, it's like this little shadow inside that even as we work with karma and emptiness, there's something down inside there that's saying, you know, God's watching, or Big Bang's gonna end, or I don't know, whatever it is. So it's not like just ancient history. It's something to cook, to think about, to really look inside and see, you know, where is that belief still in there? And I don't mean to find it and reject it. I mean to find it and explore it. You know, it took me a while in deep retreat before I realized that I had seeds for being mad at God, and I didn't think I ever believed in God. And here I, you know, had this being mad at this being probably my whole life, and I didn't even know it until I was digging around in myself in 3-year retreat. It's like, wow, that was a surprise. You know, so we had a chat and we got it sorted out, but it surprised me. They're in there. With these 3 different beliefs, and any that are similar to them, they are useful. They were useful to us in different times. They are still very useful to many people. So don't disrespect them to other people for whom they are still beneficial. When we reach a certain level of intention in our own personal spiritual path, we see that relying on an other to take care of us, to solve our problem, or to be the one that we can blame for something is an obstacle. It's an obstacle to that personal responsibility that is a necessary piece for the seed planting to be able to start to rip out the mistaken view. As long as we're okay blaming something else, we won't recognize that it's our own moment by moment behavior that is where our power lies. It's our creativity, is moment by moment interaction. As long as there's somebody else in charge, we just go along for the ride. I'll be good, I'll follow the rules, everything will be fine, and it will be for a long time, but not ultimately. Right. So I already said that Master Vasubandhu says, if the creator being makes the world, they could have made everything all at once, and it wouldn't depend on linearity, there wouldn't be cause and effect, but there is. So he says, you know, I don't buy that as the cause of the universe. Okay, fine, they're part of my existing universe, but they're just not the cause of it. Then he says, and if these 2 others that are said to be unchanging things are still the cause of the universe, that's just ridiculous, because an unchanging thing can't cause anything. And if an unchanging thing does suddenly cause something else had to cause it to change to do that, in which case it's not the cause. The thing that caused it to be the cause is the real cause. And then if that's a changing thing, it had to have a cause that made it be the cause to make the unchanging cause become a cause. Do you see? You can never find the thing that is the cause. You know, classic Arya Nagarjuna, who comes several hundred years later to remind us. So he says these three cannot possibly be the cause for things, and we can't continue to believe these are the cause for things and reach a deep understanding of where things do come from. Because if we believe in these, we don't go looking for any more accurate reason. When we find the accurate explanation for where things come from, these other three become inadequate answers for that. Doesn't mean we have to fight with the world to say they don't exist at all, because they do for the rest of the world. All right, so where does our world come from? Lele jikten natsoke. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. Deeds make our world. If we believe that 50%, then we'll work with our behavior 50%. To change our world 50%. It's not enough. It's a start, but it's not enough. It takes 100% understanding, belief and understanding in Lele Jikten Natsoke in order to make the changes in our own behavior that are sufficient to make the change in our world that we're wanting to make. Even if what we're wanting to change is changing to nirvana, right? Which is what the school we're studying, that's the highest thing they believe they can get to. It still takes 100% buy-in into my deeds create this world. All right. So Master Vasubandhu is trying to show people, us included, how to stop creating suffering. So he showed us all existing things. And then he asked, you know, where do you think those come from? And he points out, not there, not there, not there. Here's where it comes from. Deeds. And he goes on to say, where is my note? Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. What are deeds? They are movement of the mind and what it motivates. Mental movement is a deed of thought. What it causes is deeds of body and speech. These are either communicating or not. So that's the first paragraph of chapter 4. It's the essence of the whole chapter. The rest of it is describing what's meant by those. And you have a memorization assignment, which is what I just said. So I'll say it again. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. What are deeds? They are movement of the mind and what it motivates. Mental movement is a deed of thought. What it causes, deeds of body and speech. these are either communicating or not. And then we don't need to go any further than that. So if you're doing the memorization, that's what it is, in case it's not clear from the homework and reading. So forget these three and put lele jikten natsoke on top of deni sempa dong de je. I want to change this because I separated it wrongly. Oops. Sorry. There. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. What are deeds? That's not in there, but it's implied. Deni, this, meaning deeds causing the multitude of worlds. Sempa dang de je means movement of the mind and what it motivates. Okay. And sempa yikile means movement of the mind. So mental karma, sempa yikile, and the impulse to act in speech and body, sempa dang deije, is what is meant by the karma that makes the multitude of worlds. So deni means that, meaning the karma. Sempa means movement of the mind. Dong is and. This looks like deje, but this day has two syllables, deye, deje, which means what it does or what it motivates. Here's movement of the mind again. Yiki le is karma of the mind. And yinno means it is. So Tibetan sentence structure is backwards and inside out from my perspective. What this is saying is karma is movement of the mind. Unwritten is what are deeds? I'm sorry. Deeds cause the multitude of worlds. Unwritten is, what do you mean by deeds? They are movement of the mind, sempa yikile, and what that movement of the mind motivates, sempa dang deije. What does that motivate? It motivates us to say something and or do something. So karma of the mind, movement of the mind, is just the shift of awareness from this to that. And with that happens a thought, not even necessarily a thought in word, but it is a thought to move from seeing the blossoming swallow to seeing the Buddha on my altar. That's a movement of the mind. And with it, there is a nonverbal thought that's different, right? My response to the awareness blooming swallow is different than my response to the awareness Buddha on my altar. That's movement of the mind. That movement of the mind inspires thought, speech, and action. When we're with other beings, our mind moves, we say, we act, we say, right? Those aren't necessarily one and then the other. So speech karma and physical karma are not cause and effect, but they're happening often together, not always together. So Deeds cause the multiple of the worlds. What do we mean by deeds? We mean movement of the mind and what that motivates. What does it motivate? Actions of speech, actions of body, which are ripenings and plantings, right? They're ripening in the sense that they are a reaction to that movement of the mind circumstance. And in their process, our mind is aware of what we say to another, what we do to another, and that awareness of those actions make an imprint on the mind, and that makes new mental seeds, new karma. That's collecting karma. To make an imprint, it's step 2 in the wheel of life. And so we can get a sense of how it's happening perpetually. Ripenings and plantings are happening. You know, you could make a case for it's all happening simultaneously, in which case maybe that one that made the world simultaneous could really be true, but don't go there. A ripening has to ripen before we can plant in response to it. And that process is what we mean by deeds cause the multitudes of worlds. Movement of the mind, what it motivates, is the cause of our experience, me and my world. Not in the moment, but in this sequential happening of that process. So then that opening verse goes on to say, and these deeds of body and speech, these are either communicating or not. And to be honest with you, it still escapes me why these deeds being communicating or not is so important that it's in this opening statement of chapter 4. And it's one of those that I've got on the shelf cooking because it just doesn't seem that important to me. So I hope you have an insight, you can help me. Communicating karma is called namparikche. Non-communicating karma is namparikche maimpa, meaning it's not. Communicating karma and communicating karma that's not that, not communicating. So what do we mean by communicating karma? If we are observing someone who, say they're in a church and they're kneeling, right, and they have their hands in prayer, and we just saw them do that, we would infer that they're praying. We might be wrong, but given the information that we have, they're in a church, they're doing all the things that you do when you pray, probably they're praying. That person is communicating karma by their bodily action. If I could hear them whispering, then their speech action would also be communicating karma, meaning what they're doing communicates to another something about their motivation. you know, okay, great, communicating karma. Then non-communicating karma, the example they use is, suppose you are at someone's ordination ceremony, and like you don't know it's the ordination ceremony. You walk in just at the moment that the lama's cutting the lock of hair, and you know about those things. And so there's communicating karma happening because you infer they're getting their vows. You infer from that they must have some amount of devotion, right? We make all kinds of inferences based on what they're showing us with their actions and speech. But then, a couple hours later, you see that person in the kitchen, and you know they're just washing dishes, and you look at them, and that communicating karma from before, when they were getting their vows, they have their vows, but you can't see them. Their non-communicating karma is this aura of goodness that they accumulated by way of the karma they made as they were doing the thing that was communicating karma. So we can do things that communicate karma, and after we're done with that, we still have some influence within us from that deed, but it's not anything that is communicated to anybody else. Like, what is so crucial about that? I think it gives us a little glimpse into what imprints of our behavior, like some of the ramifications of that imprint, right? We tend to be thinking, oh, it's a little teeny seed inside my heart, but it actually makes us up. Those seeds make us up, but it isn't something that we can see on another or that another can see on us, because those karmas are non-communicating. Most of our karmas are non-communicating. So I don't know, think about it. It's two forms of karma: communicating karma and non-communicating karma. Maybe we want to make more communicating karma so we can communicate karma and emptiness to other people. I don't know. I really don't know. Two ways of dividing karma: communicating and non-communicating. Another two ways of dividing karma is called by way of the most basic kind of karma. And the most basic kind of karma we just learned: movement of the mind and what it motivates. The what it motivates is speech and action. So there's mental karma and there's body and speech karma as two different kinds of karma. Sounds like three, right? But it's divided: mental and physical, speech being part of physical. They also call those motivating karma and motivated karma. Which one do you figure is motivating karma? Right, movement of the mind. Because it's what makes us say and do. So motivated karma is what we say and do, which was motivated by the movement of the mind. within that movement of the mind is our emotions, our mental afflictions, our beliefs, right? All of that is movement of the mind. Many, many layers of movement of the mind. At most subtle, maybe most subtle, is just the shift of awareness from this to that. But from that, right, this ball rolls to identifying things, having judgment about things, discriminating between things, wanting things, diswanting things, and in an instant, we're saying something, we're doing something. That boom, is replanted. A new movement of the mind and what it motivates. And the cycle turns. So everything in the world comes from karma. What do we mean by karma? Movement in the mind and what it motivates. What does it motivate? Actions of speech and body. What do those do? They imprint new movement of the mind and what it motivates. And all of that is what creates the Jikten Natsuk. So who is the creator of the world? Yeah, okay. I'm the creator of the world. Will you all just behave, please? Do your homework. No, you are the creator of the world. Sarani, would you lay off and not make us do our homeworks? Who is the creator of the world? Then which one of you? I mean, of each one of us. This one or that one? The one before or the one that's coming later? Like which you? Aren't you different now than you were at the beginning of class? Yeah, so which one's the creator? The one from class, before class? Or this one now? Or the one 10 seconds from now? Right. Right. Exactly. Okay, so I got one more thing for class. And that is in this information about communicating karma and non-communicating karma, this thing about non-communicating karma is so important. Like I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but poking fun at myself, not the tradition, not Geshe Michael, that they give us 5 characteristics, 5 qualities of non-communicating karma. And you have it on your homework. And even on your quiz. So it must be more important than I understand. So I hope you figure it out and you can tell me. So here are these 5 qualities of non-communicating karma. Number 1, it's called even during distraction. What that means is even when our mind is not thinking about it, that aura of non-communicating karma is still there. So in the vow taking example, we got our vows. While we were taking our vows, we were making communicating karma. After we're done, we have this non-communicating karma. Nobody else can see that we have vows. We can't even see that we have vows, but we still have that non-communicating karma vibe that makes us up even when we're not thinking about it. Thank goodness. Then number 2 is even when the mind is stopped. Now, technically, you can't ever stop your mind, but there are circumstances when our mind is so slowed down that it might as well be stopped, like deep sleep, like, you know, unconscious drunk, like, you know, really, really zoned out. Some kinds of meditations that our tradition does not encourage or teach. But when the mind is really, really minimally conscious, that non-communicating karma is still there. Then number 3, it's virtue or not. That communicating karma is virtue or not. It means that that actual vibe or aura, it has an ethical component. The karma that made it, the karma that it is, was either powerful goodness or powerful badness, not goodness. So technically they say, when we use the term vows, we are assuming that we're talking about taking a vow of non-harming, or taking a vow of, like our bodhisattva vows, certain vows to avoid this and try to do that. And so it has, by implication, the vow to be kinder, to be nicer, to make good karma. But when you join the military, you take a vow to do whatever you have to do to serve your country, and that implies that, you know, you're probably gonna have to kill somebody or be involved in killing somebody. And it's still a vow, and you get a non-communicating karma, but it's one that when it ripens will ripen you in a situation where others have taken a vow to be willing to kill their enemy, right? Or contribute to that. And if you're the enemy, you're in trouble. So a vow, a non-communicating karma, can be virtuous, a good one, something that's going to bring us a positive result, or it can be a negative one that will bring us a negative result. They both qualify as non-communicating karma. Somehow, a non-communicating karma can't be neutral. And I think it has to do with the strength of the imprint. Neutral's too neutral to become this thing called a non-communicating karma that gets carried through when we're distracted, when our mind is almost stopped, right? Because it doesn't have a virtue or not. Doesn't have strong enough goodness or badness to carry on. Number 4 quality is that it continues even after. The words are, it continues even after, meaning it carries on in a stream. That communicating karma vibe within us follows us through time and space, as long as we don't actually destroy it in some way. And depending on the kind of vow, it continues through time and space until our body finishes, as in our individual freedom vows and our refuge advices. They go away when this life ends. Bodhisattva vows, diamond way vows, they carry on. And then number 5 is, it takes the great elements as its cause. It takes the great elements as its cause, which means that this non-communicating karma thing that we're talking about is actually composed of some kind of subtle physical matter. The elements are physical matter. The subtleties of what makes up physical matter is everything is some combination of earth element, water element, wind element, fire element, and space element. So it doesn't mean our physical bodies have dirt inside them, but the earth element means the quality of solidity of form. The water element means our quality of fluidity, right? The quality that allows blood and lymph and snot and urine to flow, to move. Then fire is the quality of temperature, metabolism. Wind is the quality of movement. And space is the quality of place, right? Where things are. And everything, every existing material thing is made up of some combination of those elements. So is our non-communicating karma. Again, it's like, I don't understand. It's a physical thing, this non-communicating karma. But very, very subtle. So Geshe-la said, don't worry, it doesn't make you heavier. Right? You can't say, oh, I just have too much non-communicating karma. You're not allowed to do that. Okay, so that actually finishes our class 2 for this course. And I was tempted to go to the next class, but then that would double up your homework. So I would rather book the extra minutes. But I'm also very happy to stay and entertain questions about anything if anyone else cares to stay and you don't have to. But if anybody's going to leave, I'd like to do the dedication before you go. And if you're going to stay, we can anyway. Let me stop the share. All right. So let's do our dedication and then stay or not, we'll see. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class? We learned some stuff that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close. To continue to guide you, inspire you, help you, and then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into our hearts. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person. Just share it with everyone you love. To share it with every existing being everywhere. see them all filled with this wisdom of loving kindness. See them wanting to share it with others. And may it be so. All right. Well done, class 2. So I'm happy to take questions. I'm also happy to say good night, as you wish. Going once. Ask about what karma I plant when I visit others at night in my dream.